right, hello and welcome back everybody. Abby here. So I'm going to take you through your thought of the week this week, and I'm really excited about this one. We're talking about your glutes again. I'm obsessed with helping you find them. And today we're going to talk about why using those glutes can be really helpful if you've been having any sort of like lower back discomfort or pain, which if you're spending a lot of time sitting, most likely you are. So let's get those glutes to fire and let's get them to take over some of that work, and I'll show you how. So we'll start laying on your back. We're going to do a little bit of bridging here to get set up. So bring the hands down by your sides. You want the knees bent and the feet in a parallel position. And we're just going to start with a small pelvic tilt. So you're going to exhale, pull the low abs in, press the lower back in towards the mat, and then hug the pubic bone up to the ceiling. And then reverse that, bring the tailbone down, inhale, let your abs lengthen. And then we'll do that twice more. Can you feel a connection already here between the heels pushing down, activating the back of your legs, and pulling the low belly in? All right, now hug that pubic bone up. You're going to keep it lifted and turn this into a glute bridge. So peel those hips up and away from the floor. Hold at the top for me. I want you to maybe even take the hands on your hips like I'm doing here. Tuck that pubic bone up a little bit higher so that we're on a downhill slope where the knees are higher than the pubic bone. Pubic bone is higher than your belly button, and belly button is higher than your front ribs. And then lower your hips all the way down. Try that again. Big exhale as you help yourself up into that hollow body shape. Okay, so do that twice more. That hollow body shape is an exaggeration of that pelvic tilt that we just did on the floor, and it's going to get the back of your legs to fire super strong, which is going to take over the work of your lower back. So hold at the top on this next one. You're going to feel that difference for me. If you arch, if you open your ribs towards the ceiling, if you use that to lift your hips up a little higher, do you feel the compression that you get into that lower back? Not so hot. Sometimes okay, like if you're trying to get like a chest opener, but most of the time we're trying to get those glutes to fire in a bridge, so be more hollow through your front. Now you're going to sit the hips halfway down like you're sitting into a chair, and then tuck that pubic bone up towards the ceiling. Okay, so try that 5 more times. Every time you take the tuck up, you're going for that hollow body shape. Every time you take that, you also think about those heels pushing down, and it might just feel almost like you're getting like a stretch through your quads or your hip flexors, and that would be a good thing because you're getting this active stretch for the front body by working that back body. All right, this is going to be your last one, and we're just going to lift and hold at the top and take small pulses here of those hips, 1 inch up, 1 inch down. You can do it with the heels down or try lifting the heels up. You won't get that heel connection to help you, but you'll get a little bit more space to lengthen through the front of the hips. And any discomfort in that lower back, just try hollowing out the front body a little more, even if those hips have to come towards the floor. All right, last 2. And then lower all the way down, shake that out. Good job. Now we're gonna practice that in an all fours position. So bringing your forearms onto the mat underneath those shoulders. Take a couple of little cat and cows here. So feel the movement through that entire spine as we take that. Okay, then we're gonna hold in neutral, so where it sort of feels like you're sticking your butt up towards the ceiling. Ground into your right knee, flex the left foot, and you're gonna bring that left leg up and down. So here, same thing we just worked on in the bridge. We wanna try to get the activation through the back of the leg. What often happens with this is we'll hold at the top and just check in. You're kind of gonna end up swaying in your lower back in order to lift the leg higher. So if you're feeling like you're doing that, hug the low abs in, and then maybe that left leg doesn't go so high when it's on the move up and down. But that should help you target the work in that high hamstring, low glute a little more. All right, we've got 3. We've got 2. Hold at the top on 1, little pulses up and down. And try to, again, think about almost like that hollow body shape without over rounding the spine. What we're trying to do is stabilize that lower back. Yeah, I feel you through that screen. Okay, 3, 2, ooh, I didn't feel my left glute. Okay, come onto your right forearm now. We'll set up for a side plank position with the knees in in front of the hips, feet in line with those glutes, and we're gonna bring that left knee up and down for a clam. So same thing here. We're getting the glutes to activate by keeping the spine and the pelvis stable. In the side-facing positions, it's a little bit harder because there's more that could kind of go awry. And so I like to take this left hand onto my hip and use that to keep my hip really still. If the hip is still, then the glutes fire. If the hips move, you could try a few like this, see how that moves that lower back. And so mobility is sometimes what we're looking for in the lower back, and stability is sometimes what we're looking for. But to get those glutes to fire, oftentimes we want that spine to stay stable. Okay, so let's try it now in the side plank. Slide the knees back, lift the hips up and away from the floor. Now in this position, hug that pubic bone forward like we did in the bridge. You'll feel that right glute turn on, and then the left leg moves. And then do that clam from here. Now you're gonna get both of those hips to activate, working with that deep core to keep your spine nice and still. Okay, last 3, last 2, and then let's take this whole thing on the other side on your next one. So come down, swing it around, and we'll come onto your forearms. And once you've got those forearms down, left knee stays on the mat, right foot flexes up and down. And then just check what's going on with the spine. And are you doing those little cat and cows? Okay, so your goal is to think tailbone up, ribs in, low abs hugging in a lot. And maybe that means that the leg moves just a little bit less than normal. So when you get to the top in 2, we'll hold it there and just check yourself, right? So can you really find that right glute firing, lifting and lowering that knee up and down, keeping that spine nice and long? Okay, good. And stay with that for 4, 3, 2, and bring it down. And we'll move on to the clams next. So that left forearm underneath you, shoulders and hips stacked, feet in line with your glutes. That right leg will move up and down. I like to take this right hand and put it on my hip for that stability check through my pelvis. And you can think about kind of lifting the ribs away from the floor so you don't end up here, which is, again, putting pressure into that lower back. So low back stays long and neutral, and you're gonna start to feel it in that outer right hip. Okay, last 3. Then we'll try the side plank version. And then we'll bring those knees together a little bit back so that you can lift the hips up. Now in the side plank, zip the low abs up and in so you can keep that nice long line, and then right leg goes on the move again. And keep going there for 4. How still can you keep those hips, and just making sure that you're not sticking your butt out behind you, overdoing that crunching in the lower back. Lower back is long because those low abs and those glutes are working together here. Good. All right, now we're gonna come onto your knees. We're gonna get set up for a little squat to stand. In your kneeling position, this is a great place to practice this because most of us, since we're so tight in the hips, end up kneeling in a situation that looks kind of like this. That hip flexor is sort of pulling your spine forward. So to counteract that, we're gonna find the glutes. Hug that pubic bone forward, activate right at that low glute, high hamstring situation, and feel how that opens and stretches the hips just like we did in the bridge. And then you're gonna sit the hips back and press the hips forward, right to that same long line. So take that 5 more times. We're gonna really get this fired up to help us then with our standing squats to finish. Okay, so last 3, last 2, and then on your next one, let's hold it halfway. Small pulses here, up and down. Can you practice that long length of the spine? So the low abs are still lifted. If the low abs spill towards the thighs, again, that also puts pressure on the lower back. So we're thinking glutes take the pulse, but the low abs pulling in to support your lower back. Okay, last 2. And then we're gonna take those hands down, tuck the toes. From your down dog, walk in and roll all the way up. And we're gonna try that same thing standing. So once you're standing, feet parallel, 2 or 3 inches apart, take those hands to the hips. Feel the length through the front body, and then sit those hips back. As you exhale, stand up, push into the heels, feel that length again. All right, so let's take that 5 more times. In this squat, our priority is to get that glute activation going. So keep practicing that, and I'll just chat through like a wide squat that you might do in another class. Also, you're working the same thing, right, of that heel to glute connection. But while we keep that spine neutral and allow the hip hinge, it sort of allows those glutes to stay activated the whole time, which is why I want you to practice it here. Hold the squat, and back to those pulses, 1 inch up, 1 inch down. Now, nice long spine. Nice low abs. Maybe this time the arms stretch forward for just a little bit more challenge. And you're there for 5. For 4, maybe those toes can lift up because the weight is so far back in those heels and those glutes are nice and toasted. Last one, go ahead and stand all the way up. Interlace the hands here for a stretch. Arms will come up towards the ceiling and you can take a small side bend over to the right and side bend over to the left. And even in these side bends, try not to collapse into that lower back, right? Keep that hug of the low abs up and in. And come on back to the center, release the hands, come into a forward fold and a soft bend into those knees. Shake out the head, and then with control, slowly roll yourself up to stand and feel all the length that you created here, even in just that little bit of movement. So that's the thought. Great work with that. And I can't wait to see you back here for the next one. We'll be back at it next week.